The glass shattered 3 feet from her face. Maya didn't flinch. She'd learned not to. 22 months behind the bar at Crimson and Smoke had taught her that silence survived longer than screaming. The drunk investment banker who'd thrown it was already being escorted out by security, his Rolex catching the low amber light as he struggled. She picked up the rag hanging from her apron and walked toward the glittering mess on the mahogany floor. Her knees hurt. They always did by midnight. The double shift was catching up. 16 hours between the diner's breakfast rush and the club's late-night circus. Her hands moved automatically. Sweep the glass, check for blood, wipe down the bar top, reset the cocktail napkins, muscle memory, survival choreography. The club owner, Marcus, appeared at her elbow. "You good?" "Fine. That's the 3rd one this month." "4th?" Maya corrected, not looking up. Marcus studied her for a moment. She could feel his concern, the way a person feels, rain before it falls. He meant well. He always did. But concern didn't pay her mother's medical bills or keep the collection agencies from calling at 7 a.m. "Go home," he said quietly. 2 more hours on my shift." "Maya, I need the money, Marcus." He sighed, squeezed her shoulder once, and disappeared back into his office. Maya returned to her station, her feet aching in shoes held together with superglue and hope. The late crowd was filtering in now, the after-theater set, the insomniacs, the people who treated 4 a.m. like other people treated happy hour. And then the room changed. She felt it before she saw it. A shift in air pressure. Conversations didn't stop. They lowered. Laughter didn't die. It softened. The kind of quiet that happens when a predator enters a space full of prey. 3 men in dark suits walked through the entrance. The one in the middle didn't look like much at first glance. Average height, dark hair touched with gray at the temples, a face that could belong to a banker or a college professor. But the way he moved, the way the crowd parted without anyone consciously deciding to move, told Maya everything she needed to know. Marcus materialized again, his face carefully neutral. VIP section is ready. The man in the middle, the one the others deferred to without obvious gesture, glanced at the roped-off area, then at the main bar, at her. "Here is fine." His voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of voice that never needed to rise because it was always heard. Marcus hesitated for only a second. "Of course, Mr. Dante." Dante. The name landed in Maya's chest like a stone in still water. Everyone in the city knew that name, even people like her who tried very hard not to know things. Vincent Dante, the man who owned half the waterfront and probably 3/4 of the city council. The man whose name appeared in newspaper articles that always ended with allegations and suspected, but never convicted. He sat directly across from her station. His associates flanked him, silent as monuments. Maya's hands continued their work, wiping down the counter, restocking napkins, pouring a bourbon for the woman 2 seats down. She didn't look at him directly, didn't need to. She could feel his attention the way you feel sunlight through a window. "What do you recommend?" His voice was closer than she expected. She finished pouring the bourbon, set it down gently, and finally met his eyes. They were dark, thoughtful, tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. For drinking or for forgetting? Something flickered across his face. Not quite a smile. "Is there a difference?" "Always." She reached for a bottle of Redbreast, poured 2 fingers into a crystal glass. Neat. Set it in front of him without ceremony. He studied the glass, then her. "You didn't ask what I wanted." "You wanted a test," Maya said quietly. "That's the answer." The man to his left tensed. The one on the right went very still, but Vincent Dante picked up the glass, took a slow sip, and set it down with something that might have been approval in his eyes. "What's your name?" "Maya." "How long have you worked here, Maya?" "Long enough to know when someone's nursing a bullet wound under their jacket." She nodded toward his right side, where his suit jacket hung just slightly wrong. "You should see a doctor." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. His associates looked ready to commit violence, but Dante raised one hand, barely a movement, and they subsided like dogs called to heel. Observant. Tired, Maya corrected. She moved down the bar to fill another order, giving him space, giving herself distance. But when she returned, he was still there, still watching. If this story has pulled you in, the way a good secret does, you're exactly where you need to be. You're not afraid, he said, not a question. I'm exhausted. There's a difference. Most people can't tell the two apart, Maya shrugged, restocking cocktail cherries. Most people haven't worked 2 jobs for 18 months straight. He took another sip of whiskey. Medical bills? Her hand stopped, just for a second. What makes you say that? The way you move, like someone carrying weight no one else can see. He paused. I recognize it. She should have walked away, should have made an excuse, served another customer, anything. But something in his voice, that bone-deep weariness, made her stay. My mother, she said quietly. Lung cancer. Stage 3. The treatments are experimental, which means insurance considers them optional, which means I'm paying out of pocket for the privilege of watching her suffer in high definition. I'm sorry. The words were simple, quiet, and somehow, coming from him, they didn't sound empty. Why are you here? Maya asked. Places like this don't usually make your list. Maybe I wanted to see how normal people spend their evenings. We spend them working, not much of a show. The corner of his mouth lifted, almost. Still better than most of the theater in this city. A commotion erupted near the entrance, raised voices, the sound of shoving. Maya glanced over. 2 men in expensive suits were arguing with security, their faces flushed with alcohol and entitlement. One of them pointed toward Dante. That's him. That's the son of a bitch who... Security moved fast, but not fast enough. One of the men broke through, stumbling toward the bar with fury in his eyes and a gun appearing from inside his jacket. Maya's body moved before her brain caught up. She grabbed the soda gun, aimed, and sprayed directly into the man's face. He howled, hands flying to his eyes, the gun clattering to the floor. Dante's associates were on him in seconds, controlled and efficient, while security flooded the area. The whole thing took maybe 10 seconds. Maya set the soda gun down, her hands perfectly steady, and picked up her rag. Started wiping down the bar top where whiskey had sloshed during the chaos. Vincent Dante stared at her. You didn't run, he said. Nowhere to run to. Besides, he was making a mess of my bar. Your bar. I clean it. That makes it mine for 8 hours a day. She glanced at him. You should probably leave. Cops will be here soon, and I'm guessing you'd rather not answer questions. You're not curious about why he wanted to kill me? Everyone wants to kill someone, Maya said tiredly. Rent's too high, healthcare's too expensive, and hope's in short supply. The only difference is most people don't have the access or the rage. He had both. She paused. Am I wrong? Dante stood slowly, buttoning his jacket. No, you're not wrong. He pulled out a wallet, extracted a business card, and placed it on the bar top. Heavy card stock. Expensive. Just a name and a phone number. If you ever need anything, I won't. Call that number. I don't take charity. Good, he said quietly. I don't give it. But everyone needs. But insurance, Maya. Even people who think they don't. He left with his associates, moving through the crowd like smoke through air. Marcus appeared 30 seconds later, his face pale. Do you have any idea who that was? Yes. Do you have any idea what you just did? My job. Marcus laughed, a short, shocked sound. Your job is pouring drinks, not playing bodyguard to Vincent Dante. He tipped well, Maya said, nodding toward the bar top, where $500 bills sat folded under the business card. Maya, I'm fine, Marcus. I'm always fine. She pocketed the money, left the card where it was, and finished her shift. By the time she clocked out at 4 a.m., her feet were numb and her back was screaming. The night air hit her face like a blessing as she stepped outside, her bus pass already in hand. The card stayed on the bar top, unclaimed. 3 days passed, Maya worked, slept 4 hours, worked again, visited her mother in the hospital during the narrow window between shifts, holding her hand while machines beeped their steady rhythm of not quite dying. The bills kept coming. The collection calls kept ringing. The world kept turning with the indifference of a machine that had long since stopped caring about individual gears. On the 4th day, 2 men in suits appeared at the diner during breakfast rush. They weren't breakfast customers. They sat at the counter, ordered coffee they didn't drink, and waited until her manager took his smoke break. Then the older one, graying, professional, with eyes like a shark, leaned forward. "Maya Reyes?" She set down the coffee pot carefully. "You're in my section. You want something besides coffee, you need to order it. We're here on behalf of Mr. Castellano." The name meant nothing to her. She said so. "He owns the building your mother is being treated in," the younger one said, "along with several other properties your family has history with." Maya's blood went cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Your father," the older man said quietly, "borrowed a substantial sum before he died. That debt didn't die with him. It transferred to your mother. And now, given her condition, to you." "That's not legal." "Legality is flexible when you owe $200,000. The number landed like a fist to the stomach. Maya gripped the counter's edge. "I don't have that kind of money." "We know. But Mr. Castellano is a reasonable man. He's willing to forgive the debt in exchange for a small favor." "What favor?" The older man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Information about Vincent Dante. We know you served him. We know you spoke with him. We want to know what he said, what he's planning, who he's meeting with." "I don't know anything." "Then you'll start paying attention. You'll call this number." He slid a card across the counter. "And you'll tell us everything, or your mother's treatment ends today, and the debt comes due in full." They left. Maya stood frozen, the card burning against her palm like a coal. Around her, the diner continued its morning symphony. Orders called out, dishes clattering, conversations blurring into white noise. But all she could hear was the quiet ticking of a clock that had just started counting down. She finished her shift on autopilot, took the bus to the hospital, sat beside her mother's bed while the older woman slept, morphine soft and fragile as paper. "I don't know what to do," Maya whispered to the sleeping woman. "I don't know how to fix this." Her mother didn't answer. The machines beeped. Time passed. Maya pulled out both cards, Castellano's demand and Dante's offer, stared at them until the words blurred. She made her choice. The number Dante had given her rang 3 times before a woman's voice answered. Professional. Careful. "Yes?" "My name is Maya Reyes. Vincent Dante gave me this number." Silence. Then, "Hold, please." 30 seconds later, a different voice. Male. Familiar. "Maya." "I need to meet with you," she said quietly. "Not about money, about information." "Where?" "Somewhere public, somewhere safe." "There's a coffee shop on 5th and Morrison, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. "I'll be there." She hung up before she could change her mind. The coffee shop was exactly what she expected. Exposed brick, overpriced lattes, the kind of studied casualness that cost a fortune to fake. Dante was already there when she arrived, sitting in a back corner booth with a clear view of the entrance. He stood when she approached. "Thank you for coming." Maya slid into the seat across from him. Didn't order anything, couldn't afford to, and wouldn't accept if he offered. "You said you needed information," Dante said. "What kind?" She told him. All of it. The debt, the threat, Castellano's demand. Dante listened without interrupting, his face unreadable, his coffee growing cold between his hands. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Castellano," he said finally, "is a problem I've been meaning to address." "I'm not asking you to fight my battles. No, you're asking for information. About my enemies. About who wants me dead and why." He studied her. "You understand what you're asking?" What it means to carry that knowledge? I understand I have 48 hours before my mother's treatment stops. I understand I have no money, no leverage, and no options. I understand that Castellano wants intelligence, and you're the only person who can give it to me without it being a trap. She met his eyes. So yes, I understand exactly what I'm asking. And if I say no, then I thank you for your time and figure something else out. Dante leaned back, studying her with that same tired intensity she'd seen at the bar. You know what most people do when they're cornered? They beg. They cry. They offer things they can't afford to give. I'm not most people. No, he said quietly. You're not. He pulled out his phone, typed something, set it down. I'm going to make you an offer, not charity, not a favor, a transaction. I'm listening. I tell you what you need to know about my enemies. Names, connections, vulnerabilities, everything Castellano wants and more. In exchange, you do something for me. Maya's stomach tightened. What? You work for me, behind the bar at a club I own, the Sapphire Room. It's quieter than where you are now. Better pay, better hours. And you listen, you watch. You tell me what you see. You want me to spy. I want you to survive, Dante said. And I need someone I can trust, someone who doesn't want my money or my power, someone who just wants to save their mother and pay their bills. Why me? Because you sprayed a man with soda water instead of screaming. Because you didn't run. Because you looked at me like I was a person instead of a reputation. He paused. And because I'm tired of people who want something from me. You just want to be left alone. That's refreshing, Maya considered. The rational part of her brain screamed warnings, but the rational part of her brain wasn't watching her mother die by degrees, while collection agencies circled like vultures. The debt? Gone. As of this morning, I bought it from Castellano. Why would he sell it to you? Because I offered him 3 times what it was worth and promised not to kill his nephew. Dante's expression didn't change. He's pragmatic. So am I. And if I say no, the debt stays gone. Your mother's treatment continues. You go back to your life, and we never speak again. He met her eyes. I mean that, Maya. This isn't coercion. It's an offer. You're free to refuse. She believed him. God help her, she believed him. I'll do it, she said. But I need to know everything, not just the names, the why, the how, all of it. Dante smiled, a real smile this time, small and sharp. Then let's begin. He pulled out a pen and a napkin, started writing. My enemies, he said quietly, fall into 3 categories. The ones who want my territory, the ones who want my legitimacy, and the ones who want revenge. He slid the napkin toward her. The first category is simple. Castellano wants the waterfront. The Marchetti family wants my distribution network. The Russians want my political connections. They're predictable, manageable. Maya studied the names, memorized them. The second category is more complex. District Attorney Morrison is building a case. He's ambitious, which makes him dangerous. Senator Vance wants my endorsement, but can't be seen accepting it. Police Commissioner Chen is on 3 payrolls, including mine, but his loyalty is negotiable. More names, more connections. And the third category? Maya asked. Dante's expression darkened. Antonio Soltari. He blames me for his daughter's death. She was collateral damage in a war I didn't start but had to finish. He's been planning revenge for 3 years. Patient, thorough, dangerous. Is he right? Are you responsible? Yes. The honesty shocked her. Dante didn't look away. I made a choice, a tactical decision that saved 40 lives and ended 3. His daughter was one of the 3. I'd make the same choice again, but that doesn't mean I sleep well. Maya added the name to her mental list. Anyone else? At least a dozen smaller players, people who think they see weakness, people who want to test boundaries. He paused. And one more. My brother. Your brother wants you dead? Worse. He wants me replaced. He thinks I've gone soft, lost my edge. He's building alliances, making promises, positioning himself as the logical successor. Dante's voice was carefully neutral. His name is Marco. He's brilliant, ruthless, and he's probably right. About you going soft? About me being tired. The confession hung between them like smoke. Maya thought about the bullet wound under his jacket, the weariness in his eyes, the way he'd thanked her for treating him like a person. You could stop, she said quietly. Walk away. People like me don't get to walk away. We get to choose how we fall. That's all. He added more names, more details. By the time he finished, the napkin was covered in cramped handwriting, a roadmap of violence, ambition, and betrayal. Maya studied it like scripture. How much of this is real? She asked. All of it. The question is how much of it Castellano already knows. He knows about Morrison and the Russians, probably Castellano's own ambitions. But Soltari? She tapped the name. That's personal, private. He won't know that. And my brother? That's your leverage. Family secrets are worth more than tactical intelligence. Dante looked at her with something like respect. You're good at this. I'm good at listening. There's a difference. He folded the napkin, slid it back to her. Memorize it. Burn it. And when Castellano calls, because he will call, you give him exactly what he expects. Names he knows, connections he's guessed, nothing that puts you at risk. And then you start at the Sapphire Room on Monday. Double your current salary. Your mother's treatment is covered. And you do what you do best. You watch, you listen, and you survive. Maya pocketed the napkin, stood, extended her hand. Deal. Dante shook it. His grip was firm, warm, and surprisingly gentle. One more thing, he said. If you're ever in danger, if this gets complicated or someone threatens you, you call me directly. Not an associate, not a handler. Me. Why? Because I keep my promises, Maya, and I promised you insurance. She left the coffee shop with her head spinning and her heart racing. Went home. Memorized every name on that napkin. Burned it in her kitchen sink and washed the ashes down the drain. When Castellano called 2 hours later, she was ready. Do you have something for me? His voice was oil over gravel. Yes. I'm listening. She gave him Morrison's name. The Russians. 3 smaller players that Dante had specifically marked as expendable. Fed him just enough truth to make the lies taste real. Is that all? That's all I heard. He doesn't talk much. Silence. Then, you'll keep listening. The debt is gone. Bought out this morning by an anonymous benefactor. You're welcome. He hung up. Maya sat in her apartment, hands shaking with adrenaline and relief. She'd done it. She'd played both sides, survived both conversations, and bought herself time. She started at the Sapphire Room the following Monday. The club was everything Dante had promised. Quieter, cleaner, with a clientele that tipped well and kept their hands to themselves. The manager, a woman named Elena with silver hair and sharp eyes, showed her the ropes without judgment or condescension. Vincent speaks highly of you, Elena said. He barely knows me. He's a good judge of character, always has been. Maya learned the rhythms of the new space, learned which customers were connected, which were civilians playing at danger, which were actually dangerous. She watched, she listened, and once a week she met with Dante in quiet corners of the city and told him what she'd seen. Marchetti's lieutenant was in last Tuesday, she'd say. Drunk, angry, complaining about expansion delays. Or, Senator Vance's aide reserved the private room, left with a briefcase he didn't arrive with. Dante absorbed it all, asked careful questions, never pushed for more than she could safely give. You're good at this, he said one night, 3 months in. I'm good at surviving. This just happens to be the current method. It's more than that. You see patterns, connections, things other people miss. Maya shrugged. I've been invisible my whole life. You learn to watch when no one's watching you. You're not invisible anymore. It was true. She'd noticed the way certain customers looked at her now, with curiosity, with caution, with the kind of respect usually reserved for people who carried guns instead of cocktail trays. It should have frightened her. Instead, it felt like armor. Her mother's treatment was working, slowly, expensively, but working. The tumors were shrinking. The pain was manageable. And for the first time in 2 years, Maya could breathe without counting the cost of each inhale. "Thank you," she told Dante one night, "for all of this. You earned it. I haven't done anything. You're still here, still standing, still fighting." He paused. "That's more than most people manage." 4 months into her employment, everything changed. Antonio Soltari walked into the sapphire room. Maya recognized him from the description Dante had given her. Late 50s, silver beard, eyes like broken glass. He sat at the bar, ordered whiskey, and watched the room with the patience of a man who'd been planning murder for years. She served him calmly, professionally, didn't let her hands shake. "You're new," he said. 6 months. "You know who I am?" "No, sir." He smiled. Didn't believe her. "You're a good liar. That's useful in this business." "I just pour drinks." "Everyone just does something until they do something else." He finished his whiskey. "Tell Vincent I was here. Tell him I'm ready to talk." "I don't know." "Yes, you do, and he'll want to know." He left a $100 bill on the bar and walked out. Maya called Dante immediately. "He was here," she said when he answered. "Soltari. He wanted you to know he's ready to talk." Silence. Then, "Did he threaten you?" "No, he was polite." "That's worse. When's your shift end?" 2 hours. "I'm sending a car. Don't argue." The car arrived exactly 2 hours later, a black sedan with a driver who opened the door without speaking. Maya slid into the back seat to find Dante waiting. "You should have called me immediately," he said. "I handled it." "That's not the point. Soltari doesn't make social calls. If he approached you, it's because he wanted me to know he could, that you're within reach." Fear flickered through her chest. "You think he'd hurt me?" "I think he'd use you. There's a difference, but the outcome is the same." Dante's jaw was tight. "This is my fault. I should have anticipated." "Stop." Maya's voice was sharp. "I'm not a child. I'm not fragile. I knew the risks when I took this job." "Knowing risks and surviving consequences aren't the same thing." "Then teach me. Help me understand what I'm actually dealing with." Dante studied her for a long moment. Then he told the driver to take them to the waterfront. They walked along the pier, the city lights reflecting off dark water. Dante's hands were in his pockets, his shoulders tight with something that looked like grief. 3 years ago, he said quietly, there was a war. Not a metaphorical one, an actual war between my organization and the Bratva, the Russian syndicate. They wanted territory. We wanted survival. It escalated. He told her about the ambush, the warehouse, the choice he'd made to detonate the building rather than let the Russians claim it. 40 of his people escaped. 3 didn't. One of them was a civilian, a college student who'd been in the wrong place, dating the wrong person. Her name was Isabella Soltari, 22 years old. Pre-med, she was going to be a surgeon. His voice was flat, empty. Antonio Soltari was my friend once, before. Now he's my ghost. He wants you to suffer. He wants me to understand what I took from him, which means taking something from me, someone I care about. He looked at her. I'm making you a target, Maya. By keeping you close, by trusting you, I'm painting a bullseye on your back. Then unpaint it, fire me, cut ties. I can't. Why not? Because you're the first honest thing in my life in 3 years, and I'm selfish enough to want to keep it. The confession hung between them like a bridge. Maya thought about her mother, her debts, her carefully constructed survival, and she thought about this exhausted, dangerous man who'd somehow become the closest thing she had to a friend. I'm not going anywhere, she said finally, but I need to know everything, not just names and connections, strategy, backup plans, How to protect myself if things go wrong. Things will go wrong, Maya. They always do. Then show me how to survive them. He did. Over the next 3 weeks, Dante taught her things no bartender should know. How to recognize surveillance. How to spot a setup. Which exits to use in which emergencies. He had her memorize safe houses, emergency contacts, code phrases that would summon help without alerting bystanders. "You're building me into an asset," Maya said one night. "I'm building you into a survivor." "Same thing in your world." "No. Assets are expendable. Survivors aren't." She believed him. And more dangerously, she was starting to trust him. The Sapphire Room became her laboratory. She practiced what Dante taught her. Reading body language, identifying threats, managing conversations with people who thought they held all the power. She got good at it. Better than good. One night, a rival boss tried to intimidate her into revealing Dante's schedule. "I just pour drinks," she said calmly. "Don't play stupid. You're his eyes in here." "I'm a bartender. You want information? Talk to his secretary." The man leaned close, whiskey and menace on his breath. "I could make you talk." Maya met his eyes. "You could try. But then you'd have to explain to Vincent why his employee needed dental work, and I don't think that conversation ends well for you." He left, furious, impotent. Dante heard about it within an hour. "You're taking risks," he said. "I'm doing my job." "Your job is bartending, not confrontation." "My job," Maya said quietly, "is surviving. And sometimes that requires confrontation." He looked at her for a long moment, something like pride in his eyes. "You've changed." "So have you." It was true. The weariness in Dante's expression had shifted into something sharper, more focused, as if having someone to protect had given him a reason to care about protecting himself. They fell into a rhythm: work, reports, quiet conversations in cars and coffee shops. Maya's mother improved steadily. The bills stayed paid. The threats remained threats, but never escalated into action. Until the night Castellano appeared at the Sapphire Room. He walked in with 4 men, sat at Maya's bar, and ordered scotch. She poured it without comment. "I hear you've been doing well," Castellano said. "Thank you." "Working for Vincent Dante. That's quite an upgrade from where you started." "The pay is better." "I'm sure it is. I'm also sure he's asked you for favors, information, loyalty." Castellano swirled his scotch. "I'm curious what you've told him about me." Maya's pulse spiked, but her hand stayed steady. "I told him you're a businessman with interests in real estate and hospitality. That's all I know." "Really?" "Because I have it on good authority that you've been quite the little spy. Watching, listening, reporting, back." "Then your authority's wrong." Castellano smiled. "Let's test that. I'm going to make you an offer, Maya. Double what Dante pays you, plus a bonus for every piece of useful information. All you have to do is tell me what he's planning." "I don't know what he's planning." "Then find out." "No." The temperature dropped. Castellano's men shifted, hands moving toward weapons. But Maya didn't flinch. "You're refusing?" "I'm declining. There's a difference." "Not to me?" "Then I guess we're done talking." She turned to serve another customer, dismissing him. The ultimate insult. Castellano stood slowly. "You're making a mistake." "I've made worse." He left. His men followed, and Maya pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called Dante. He answered on the first ring. "Castellano was here," she said. "He tried to recruit me." "What did you tell him?" "No." Silence. Then quietly, "Thank you." "You're going to have to deal with him now. He won't let this go." "I know." "Vincent, meet me at the usual place. 20 minutes. We need to talk." The usual place was a parking garage downtown, public enough to be safe, private enough for honesty. Maya arrived to find Dante leaning against his car, looking older than his years. "I'm pulling you out," he said without preamble. "What?" "This has gotten too dangerous. Castellano targeting you directly means the protection I can offer isn't enough. I'm shutting it down." You can't. I can and I will. Your mother's treatment continues. Your salary continues for 6 months. After that, you're free. Clean. No connections to me or this world. I don't want that. Maya. I said no. Her voice was steel. You don't get to make this decision for me. I'm not some civilian who stumbled into this. I chose it. I choose it. And I'm not leaving. He'll hurt you to get to me. Then teach me how to hurt him first. Dante stared at her. You don't mean that. Don't I? You think I've spent 6 months in your world and stayed innocent? I know what you do, Vincent. I know what I'm part of. And I'm telling you, I'm staying. Why? Because for the first time in my life, I'm not invisible. I'm not helpless. I'm not drowning. Because my mother is alive and my bills are paid and I actually sleep at night. She stepped closer. And because you're not the monster everyone thinks you are, and maybe I'm not the victim everyone assumes I am, and maybe we both deserve better than running. The confession hung in the air between them. Dante's expression was unreadable. If you stay, he said quietly, everything changes. No more halfway. No more pretending you're just an employee. You become part of this, fully, with all the consequences that entails. I understand. Do you? Because once you cross that line, Maya, you can't uncross it. People will see you as mine. My asset, my weakness, my leverage, and they will use you accordingly. Then we make sure they can't. Something shifted in his eyes. Decision, commitment. All right, he said. Then let's do this properly. The next day, Dante called a meeting. Not the kind of meeting that happened in back rooms with whispered threats. The kind that happened in boardrooms with lawyers present. Every major player in the city received an invitation. Castellano, the Marchetti family, the Russians, District Attorney Morrison, Senator Vance, and Antonio Soltari. They gathered in a neutral hotel conference room, suspicious and wary. Dante stood at the head of the table. Maya stood beside him. Thank you all for coming, Dante said. I'm here to make an announcement. Miss Reyes is now under my direct protection. Anyone who approaches her, threatens her, or attempts to use her against me will be considered to have declared war. Not on my organization, on me personally. Murmurs rippled through the room. Castellano leaned back amused. That's quite a claim for a bartender. She's not just a bartender, Dante said quietly. She's someone I value, which makes her untouchable. I'm making this public so there's no confusion, no misunderstandings, no accidents. And if we refuse to respect this protection, one of the Russians asked, then we find out if you're as dangerous as you think you are. The threat was clear, absolute. Antonio Soltari spoke for the first time. You're making her a target. I'm making her a fortress. Why? Dante looked at Maya, then back at Soltari. Because some people are worth protecting, even in a world like this, especially in a world like this. Soltari studied them both for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. I accept your terms. She's off limits. One by one, the others agreed. Some with reluctance, some with calculation. But they agreed. Castellano was last. He smiled his oil-slick smile. You've always been sentimental, Vincent. It's your greatest weakness. Maybe. But it's also my greatest strength. Dante's voice was quiet, final. Do we have an understanding? We do. The meeting ended. The players dispersed. And Maya found herself standing in an empty conference room with a man who just declared war on the entire underworld for her safety. That was stupid, she said quietly. Probably. You just made every enemy you have focus on me. I made every enemy I have understand the cost of touching you. He met her eyes. There's a difference. Why did you do it? Because I'm tired of losing things I care about. And because you asked me to teach you how to survive. This is how. Not by hiding. By making yourself too expensive to attack. Maya thought about her mother. Her debts. The girl she'd been 6 months ago. Invisible, exhausted, drowning. She thought about the woman she'd become, sharp, careful, dangerous in her own quiet way. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you go back to work. You keep watching, keep listening, keep surviving, and I keep my promise to keep you safe. And if something goes wrong, then we handle it together." It wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't a rescue. It was a transaction between two people who'd found something rare in a world of lies: honesty, trust, partnership. Maya returned to the Sapphire Room. Her mother continued to heal. The city continued to turn. And in the quiet spaces between danger and normalcy, she and Dante built something that looked almost like friendship, almost like more. But that was a story for a different night. For now, she poured drinks and watched the room and survived with the kind of grace that comes from knowing exactly what you're worth. And when people asked, and they always asked, how a tired bartender had ended up under the protection of the most dangerous man in the city, she just smiled. "I knew his enemies," she'd say. "All of them." It was the truth. Just not the whole truth. The whole truth was more complicated, more dangerous, more human. The whole truth was that she'd bet her survival against his honesty, and somehow, impossibly, they both won. That night, as Maya wiped down the bar after closing, her phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "You did well today." She typed back, "I learned from the best. That's generous. That's accurate." A pause, then, "Thank you, Maya, for staying. Thank you for making it worth staying for." She pocketed her phone, locked up the club, and stepped out into the night air. The city stretched before her. Dangerous, expensive, unforgiving, but no longer impossible. She'd learned to navigate its darkness, to find allies in unexpected places, to build strength from exhaustion and power from vulnerability. She'd learned that survival wasn't about being fearless. It was about being tired enough, angry enough, and stubborn enough to refuse to quit. And as she walked toward the bus stop, her feet still aching, but her head held high, Maya Reyes, former invisible girl, current bartender, unlikely confidant to the city's most dangerous man, smiled. She'd found her place in the world, and she'd done it on her own terms. The bet had been simple: name his enemies or walk away. She'd named them all, and in doing so, she'd discovered the most important truth of all. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is refuse to be afraid. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can be is exactly who you are. And sometimes, in a world built on lies and violence and power, the greatest rebellion is simple honesty. Maya had bet on honesty, and Vincent Dante had bet on her. They were both still standing. That was enough. For now, it was everything.